if you're either running a business in the current environment, or you're looking to start a business, or you've been forced to start a business in the current environment, given everything that's going on in our economy with COVID, the economic impact, job losses, and many people pursuing entrepreneurship for the first time. And the perfect person that you need to listen to and talk to is Ramon Ray, the CEO and founder of Smart Hustle Media, a longtime friend and extended family member of Black Enterprise, and is also hosting the next Entrepreneur Summit, which is coming up November 12th and 13th, I believe. Yeah, I should know, I work for Black Enterprise. But you've hosted past Black Enterprise summits, the traditional live event. Listen, let's start out with how you doing, Ramon? What's going on?
I thank you, Alfred. I feel good. And I must say, as I say, I feel good. Many people, Alfred, as you alluded to, are hurting. So one day I'm going to stop saying it both, but I never want to be the dude who's, eating cake while people around him are hurting. So I always try to, if you know my spirit, I'm trying to say is trying to acknowledge the hurt. But about Ramon, how I'm doing, my family's good, Alfred. God has blessed us. Our business has picked up greatly. So I'm good. I'm healthy. You were just talking about health in the green room. So personally, I'm doing well. My kids are good. So all is well. Thanks for asking.
You and I have the same situation. It's like the current challenges that our nation is going through, that the world is going through.
Yes.
Nobody would ask for it. Right. But that said, healthy, kids healthy.
Yes.
I don't know if I told you, my son just got married.
Nice.
Life is in fact going on,
right.
and I say that not to dismiss the challenges and the loss that people are obviously suffering, but also to also offer hope in this environment that we're going to get past this, right. and we need to appreciate what I have a deeper sense of gratitude over the past year, given everything that's going on. Because I think there were so many things that we as a nation, we as individuals took for granted. Like our family's healthy, so I definitely feel you. So listen, I want to start at the top. You've been a tech evangelist, if you will, long before that was a common term. You've been really challenging entrepreneurs, challenging people who start up businesses to really look at innovation in entrepreneurship, whether it's marketing themselves. Oh, by the way, I got your book, Celebrity CEO. Y'all need to get my man's book, Celebrity CEO, The Celebrity CEO. But you've been really championing this idea of entrepreneurship through adversity and good times. I mean, 9/11,
right.
The Great Recession, now we're dealing with COVID. Talk to me about your philosophy of you really do inspire and get people encouraged to do that thing in a way that is true to who they are, but do it effectively so they can really build a business.
No, Alfred, you're right, man. I think it's interesting to say that. I think that talking about these rough times that we're in today, I think previously advanced technology, whatever you want to define that, but I will touch on AR, augmented reality, in a second here, but is that, whether you do it or not, and you and I have been preaching this Black Enterprise has covered it very well over the years, but I think in this adversity, so what I'm getting to is talking about augmented reality, Alfred. We take a picture and you can superimpose it over a physical item, as it were, with your phone or something like that. Right. Point being is that I was on the phone with a real estate gentleman today, old school. You could hear his accent, 60-something years old. Formerly he'd be like, "Oh, these young kids have the snap, what's it called, Ramon? Snapchat." Today, he's like saying, embracing it. Okay, I may really have to. This is no cool, fancy Alfred Ramon being hip thing.
Right.
To learn how to take a picture of the client's furniture, put it over the empty house. You know where I'm going, Alfred. So what I'm saying is that, touching on tech, is that, man, this is now really serious, and especially for us Black and brown folk who even more barrier and resistant to it. So my point is, yes, I think it's time that it's always been time to consider it, but especially while everybody's hurting. And I think the second thing I'll add, Alfred, about tech is that it's interesting. Not now, the vendors are pushing it, the businesses can use it, but even your grandmama and my grandmama are using it more because they're more aware. So it's like a perfect storm of everybody's using it more.
Yeah, and I want to use it as a jumping off point for the essential strategies that entrepreneurs need to be thinking about in this new environment, even when we get a grip as a nation, as a world, on living with this virus. Even when that happens, we're not going to go back. This is, what used to be, like you said, kind of a side thing that enthusiasts and young people did, now is mainstream in business and mainstream in life. What used to be kind of a nice to have is now a need to have. I was talking to an executive yesterday that talked about how that now internet access is a utility like food, not food, the electric bill, the water bill, the gas bill, and you got, it's not an option because you can't really function in society. So what we're doing now, like this world of Zoom and webinars and webcasting, you've been living that life longer than I have. I've been living that life for at least 13 years.
Sure.
And now it's almost like the whole world has caught up to us, to the life we've been living all along. Right. So talk to me about some of the essential things that you are seeing. And of course, you're part of a great and powerful network of entrepreneurial innovators, both within the Black community and beyond the Black community. What are you seeing from them? What are you seeing with your own eyes that can inform people who have either started businesses or have already been in business but have to totally rethink what they're doing as we come out of 2020 and into 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, no, thank you, Alfred. I think there's several things I could talk about, but I think a few things I'll touch on. I think one, it's the power of creativity is going to separate, Tyler Perry, right? Haves and have nots. It's going to separate those who succeed and those who not. I think that's one. And we can break down some of these points if you want, but I'll list a few. But I think the creativity, because, the wall's going to be there. It's who can think, how do I go over it or not that wins? What's the movie, the Captain America? There was one before, I think there's a few versions, but they were like, who can climb up the flagpole or do something? Everybody, Alfred, you know what I'm talking about? Everybody was doing weird things, and he was like,
trying to climb it, and he pulled the pin out of the bottom and let the flagpole drop and got the flag.
Exactly. And silly him, I say that in a respectful way. He was like, oh, shucks, pull up. So point being, that's one. Creativity. And Alfred and I probably can't even say what that means on this interview, but creativity. You have to think a variety of ways. We'll come back to that. I think point two, focusing on your customers. If Alfred already has my trust and he's already sold me, these pair of scissors, whatever it may be, maybe the scissor market is down, if you understand. Maybe things have changed, but the one thing that hasn't is I trust him. So maybe he has to think of something new. So I think that creativity combined with understanding your customers, being tight with your current team members, whether it's formal employees, whether it's 1099s, consultants, I think that's important. How are you doing? And I think the fourth thing I'm saying, Alfred, is that let's not forget ourselves. And you touched on that, just to reach out. You and I have been in touch, whether we have interview or not. You and I text now and then, what's going on? How are you? Share a joke. So I think that human connection is important, and for family, but even business. And I'll try to end on this, Alfred, is that even people who are not buying from you today, this doesn't mean you have the capacity for everybody, but still keep in touch. Do a WhatsApp voice message, do a Facebook, I'm here and thinking of you. Is that helpful, Alfred?
It's extremely helpful. I mean, it is what I do. People say, why are you on social media all the time? It's not really always just to promote.
Yes.
I got multiple ways to let people know I'm thinking about them.
Right.
Multiple ways. And after a while, you cultivate a sense of community that becomes very, very valuable in a time like this, when isolation is very easy, being discouraged is very easy, feeling forgotten is very easy. And we're business people, but we're human beings too. And if you remember that about your customers, and you remember that about your clients and your vendors, then they remember you. And that's what it's all about. Right. But I want to get to your point about focusing on your customers and recognizing the value that is about the trust, not what you're selling them. I interviewed for this series Gwen Jameer, CEO of Naturalicious, who's extremely customer focused. And during this environment, again, there was a worldwide bottle shortage for natural hair care. Like everybody who bottled anything, lotion, hair care, back in the spring, there was a worldwide bottle shortage.
And sorry to cut you off, Alfred. I'm just curious. Was that just so we can learn? Was that because of China? Like they had their problems, so it shifted the whole market, or other things? Just curious.
It wasn't just China, but it was also, remember, all the supply chains were broken.
Got it.
There was this worldwide demand for hand sanitizer.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So yeah, it sucked up all. And so she did a couple of things that speaks to your point about trust. First of all, she had the trust of her customers, and she sold hair care products, but the customers just trusted her. So she started packaging hand sanitizer. They were like, we'll buy it from you.
Nice, yes.
So another revenue stream. The other thing though, she was very collaborative. And this speaks to your point about creativity and having good relationships with other entrepreneurs. She was able to get bottles by buying and selling. Some of her friends had excess bottles, some people that you would consider competitors. She's like, I will buy your bottles.
right.
And then if I have excess, I will sell them to you, but I'll sell them to you at cost. Nobody's making any money, but we'll still be able to do business. If you're not cultivating both the customer-centric focus as well as the let you know I'm thinking about you even when I don't need you focus, it's hard to make those things happen, and you need those relationships in adversity. I mean, you're such a living representation of cultivating relationships, but in a sincere, authentic way that's not about trying to get something from people.
Yes.
Talk about the value of that, both for yourself and who you've observed. And you host and speak at so many different conferences. That's why I'm always glad that you do ours. But you're around, and you've written about, even in your book, some of the top, most innovative entrepreneurial thinkers in the country. They all kind of practice this, but what for the people who are listening to the show, especially those who are trying to feel the way along in this path of entrepreneurship, talk about why this kind of personal touch is so critical to being able to move forward.
Yeah, man, me and you can go on, Alfred. We should just do a 3-hour show right now. We and you could just chat on that to go. But here's a few things, and I can't wait to hear your feedback and opinion on this too. I think one, I talk to many just humans, entrepreneurs especially, though, they're looking for fundraising, a gentleman I'm working with. And I get what he's doing, but he's kind of in demand mode, Alfred. Like, I got to rush and do it. Sometimes we have that. So point one is the benefit of relationships are you don't know what you'll need or when you need it. So if you are just being present and building a relationship, it's not a rush. It's like, I don't know, Alfred, listen, I need to borrow your red vest right now. Can I borrow your red vest? I know you're a nice guy, but in this metaphor, like, wait, whoa, who are you again? Exactly. But if we already have the relationship, he's going to rip it off and say, take it. I know I'll get it back. Just go. Here, I can help you. That's one. I think point two, the aspect of relationships and cultivation is that, as the example you gave with the business owner lady there, is that it's important. It's two ways, Alfred. And I think people forget, oftentimes it's about me, what can I get? Yes, Alfred, that delicate balance. We're all in business, but I think let's remember the human dimension and sharing, right? Today it's Alfred's turn. Today it's my turn. And I think if we have that mutual uplifting, the world goes along better. And the last point I'll use, I think this is the benefit, Alfred, of being a small business. I believe in contracts. They're important. Lawyers are good. But if we can, for this discussion, those who are listening to us, getting a tizzy, let's just set it over here for a minute. When with Black Enterprise and some brand nationwide, which is the great sponsor of Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit, they got to have contracts. Two brands talking, whatever went into that. But when it's two friends who are small business owners, me and Alfred, listen, I got 1,000 pallets of something. You want to buy it for 12,000. I'm not saying you don't need a contract. But Alfred, if you may get the spirit of saying, it's a lot easier because I trust you already. I was at your house for Thanksgiving. I shook your hand. I know you. So most of the times, not every, I'm not going to get hurt because most people, I think, want to do good. Maybe mistakes happen. So hence legal things are good. But in general, Alfred said, Ramon, I'll buy these 5,000 scissors. He's going to do it. And the one time he doesn't, I've already been blessed by the 400 other people who did. Does that make sense what I'm trying to express, Alfred?
In fact, I'll build on that. When there's a relationship, you can trust that most of the time it's going to happen. And then the rare time it doesn't, you can give the benefit of the doubt. You don't automatically assume, oh, Ramon's stiffing me right now. No, Ramon has come through, 99 out of 100 times. There's 100th time, for whatever reason, he didn't come through. If you're a stranger in a vacuum, I'm going to assume probably the worst. Right. But we've already had a track record of working with each other. I kind of know a little about your life. You kind of know a little bit about my life. Whatever explanation you give me is going to be credible to me, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And the reason that's important for smaller businesses, because you're right, contracts, process, and procedures and administration is important.
For sure.
But unfortunately, that's a domain of big bureaucratic corporate companies, and often we have to move faster than that. It becomes easier to do that if you're working in a community of people that you built this trust. And you talk about the importance of mutual uplift. And I mentioned Gwen Jameer. That's our whole philosophy.
Yes, Gwen. Thank you.
With other, Black natural hair care entrepreneurs. She's like, I'm part of a community. If we don't all thrive, none of us thrive.
Yes.
And I tell the entrepreneurs I mentor, you can't have a fertile business in a desert. Like, you can't be in a market where nobody's making money and you're going to make money, because guess who's going to be the one you expect to spend money with or spend money with you? If they're all broke,
that's right.
Who's going to buy from you? So it's in your best interest to to promote prosperity among those around you. I mean, certainly in times of adversity, but even when there's a times of adversity, because that's the market that you're relying on. You're not relying on an individual business. You're relying on a vibrant, fertile market.
Correct. And some people may say, Alfred, they may kick back, well, I've been burned in the past on all this. So I just want to clarify, me and Alfred are saying, as Alfred already said, I just want to stress it. We're not saying don't have contracts, not saying don't analyze things in dotted line. I'm just saying life goes easier when you start from a position of goodwill. And if you can, trust, whether it be 6 months, a year. That's all we're saying, especially for us very small businesses. Now, you have a patent out and you ship it to China, or you dealing with 20,000 people at an event, you need something more than that. You better cross your I's and dot your T's. But in general, you got to roll. And I think that's the advantage of us small businesses, Alfred. We can move faster.
But even contracts work better when there's trust between the partners. Even contracts. You mentioned Black Enterprise and Nationwide. Yes, Nationwide is a major, major corporation. Black Enterprise does things. We're not Nationwide. We're not big like they are, but we do things, contracts, sales structure, all of that. But it helps that Nationwide and Black Enterprise have a long-standing relationship because things go wrong. And we, they'll say, well, that went wrong, let's fix it, as opposed to that went wrong, we don't want to do that with you anymore. And as you know, Nationwide has been sponsoring, I don't know how many years into it, but when you want repeat business, contracts will get you the first deal. The trust is what will make it repeat business.
That's right. That's right. And to your point, I know if there's other things I want to move on, but you and I can wrap on this for a while. Going back to doing wrong, Alfred, I just want to underline, you're so right. I've had things go wrong. We all will. But to the point that the subtle thing you said, but I want to rephrase it, it's not malicious most of the time. It's a misunderstanding, or we said 99, we were only able to do 97. No problem. We'll make it up. We'll deal with it. So that's where trust comes in, because things will happen, either misunderstanding, accidents, COVID, something's going to happen, but trust goes far.
So let's spend a little time talking to people who will be at this conference. I think there's going to be a lot of them.
Sure.
Who either are brand new entrepreneurs, maybe, they decided to take the leap because their job is no more and may not come back.
Yes.
Their industry has totally changed, or they just decided this is the time for me to do this thing I've always wanted to do. So there's that group. And then there's this other group, which always had kind of a side hustle.
Yes.
But now the side hustle has to be the full-time thing. What's some pieces of advice? And some of this we're going to end up sharing, through the sessions at the Entrepreneur Summit. But you've done a great job of really identifying for these groups, and again, not just Black entrepreneurs.
Sure.
I mean, talk to entrepreneurs all over the world. But what are the common things that you would recommend that they focus on that they don't have to necessarily, figure out on their own? You can say, listen, let me give you the cheat sheet for how to get started and have a better experience as a new entrepreneur.
Yeah, for sure. I think a few things. I think one, especially when I think of the Entrepreneur Summit, I think there's 3 types. You know better than me, Alfred, so you can say this or correct me on this, how you see it. But I think that the Entrepreneur Summit, which echoes possibly America's small business, you have those billion-dollar brands and larger companies. I think you have the BE, you have the 100 list, you have a list of
100 companies.
Thank you. So you have those companies which are the upper edge and very successful.
Right.
Great, they're there. You then have the smaller end, thousands and thousands, because I've been on walk the show floor, people just starting out, Mary Jane's Bakery at yahoo.com or whatever it may be. But the part that gets all of them get me excited, but I think it's maybe your favorite too, is that middle sector, making between 100, Alfred, $1 million a year, whatever it is, team of 4, 5, 3. That's the experience. And I think that, so my point is talking to those right now, the thousands of you who've been laid off, who are scared. This is what Black Enterprise does day in and day out to give you the steps to go forward. Focus on your customers. And one thing I can say is, Alfred, I guess I'll give one tip, the minimal viable product. You today want to say, hey, I want to start, create a red cup company. See if Alfred wants to buy 10 of them first. And not your close friends, because mama always buy it, but Alfred, somebody who's in your wheel, who has no problem saying, thank you so much, just not quite for me. Right. My point being, the best thing you can do is to start small. See if you can make a sale.
Yes.
See if someone will buy it. And from there, you can do a $1 billion brand, Stitch Fix, the kind of this custom clothing company. She just had a spreadsheet, Alfred. And then she bought the clothes from like a regular retail store. And she wanted to see, will people buy curated clothing? They did. So that's what I would say for those who are starting up, Alfred, just starting out. Test, test, test. I think for the middle-sized businesses, what I love is it's a constant iteration, constant innovation. As you know, Alfred, I don't have a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. I'm blessed. My business is good. I still read. I still read.
Yes.
I still follow Black enterprise. So my point is, in the community and things we're doing, it's a constant stage of learning, because I think for us smaller companies, we'll never be done. But the one tip I'll add is focus on your profit. And I'm not a finance person. Alfred will wrap rings around me on this, but don't just look at the gross revenue and not pay yourself. Focus on a fat, juicy profit.
No, I'm a student of it, but as a, again, a side hustle entrepreneur on the side for the last 15 years, I've learned the hard way. So many things can distract you in building and running a business away from what is actually falling on the bottom line. There could be a lot of activity that while you're in the middle of it, you are actively involved in your business. But you also know I judge business plan competitions. I'm always asking the pitchers, show me the part where the money comes out.
Right.
Like, don't dazzle me with all the marketing and all how. At some point, it focuses on where the money comes out on the back end, and that's the profit. And so I think it's extremely important, especially again for the smaller entrepreneurs, that middle group entrepreneurs, or those people who are really venturing out for the first time to do it full time. And let's face it, in this current environment, that's important because many of these people are trying to replace salaries. So this is not just, fun money. This might be your mortgage payment. This might be what you're going to do to be able to retire in 20 years. So let's focus on profit. It really is important. And it's going to be obviously a major component of the Entrepreneur Summit.
For sure. And it's not going to be easy, Alfred, for sure. I mean, I must say, just to tip my hat again, because we're talking at a very tender time right now. People, some people are anxious and doing bad, but listen, and the axiom or the saying goes, I don't know who said it, you may know, but there's not a better time to go where the puck is going. Whoever said that, God bless them, and not where the puck is, because there's going to be new things, especially for our Black and brown brothers. And I know that you see this all the time, Alfred. Many are still, I talked to one young man, he's waiting for things to get back. I'm begging him, Mark Cuban, who was there 2 years ago, I think, on the stage. Yeah. I think he's been driving this even to our people, saying, please learn coding, learn AR, VR. The world is changing. They're looking for heat sensing and temperature. This is where it's going. So get in now.
Absolutely. I mean, that message, don't wait. If you're waiting for the ideal time, there really is no such thing. Black enterprise was started during a recession. So many successful businesses were started in so-called the bad economic times.
Yes.
It goes back to what you said. If you're focusing on the customer and the customer is willing to spend the money, they're not going to care what the stock market is doing. It's like, no, I need that you're offering. And speaking of that, I like your take on this. Another thing that I always advise entrepreneurs is to focus on demand, not need. I was talking about, often we need things we won't pay for. Demand is what we will pay for. And, and I've steered so many entrepreneurs away from struggling in business because they're like, this thing over here is what they need. And I said, but this thing over here is what they're willing to buy. So sell them what they're willing to buy.
Yes.
So yes. What are some other things you would some of the kind of common mistakes that new entrepreneurs make along the line?
And I just want to, again, I like this need not buy, because I think sometimes some of the, I don't know what to call them, Alfred, and I say everything in respect, but some of our more caring people are more softer people. I don't know what you call them, but they're like, but the kids need, green apples. That's what they need. It's healthiest. And I'm like, Jenny, but the market wants red apples. Yes. So for today, until you get wealthy, just sell the red apples, if you kind of my silly example. So I think for new entrepreneurs, a few things. I think, listen, one, how you, and I just heard this today with somebody else, but the point is how you show up, Alfred. And I know you know this because we know your professional image. It matters, whether it's how you look, your business card, your website. So invest, Alfred, just a little. Yeah. It doesn't take much to have the GoDaddy, the Wix, the Squarespace logo off your site. You can smell that a mile away. So that's one. It doesn't take money to have a bit more, better business cards. Well, when we get back than before. So quality, I think, is important. I think two, as sometimes they do in Shark Tank and other shows, Daymond or somebody will give them an offer and they get focused and they're looking all over the place. The man just said he made you an offer. Yeah. So as you're starting out, when somebody is ready to buy, shut up, invoice them or whatever the paperwork is, and make that sale. And I think the third, and there's so many things I could say, it's never too late, Alfred, to build a system and a process. Because now if you're a freelancer, that's okay. But if your idea is to grow, build that system, build that process so you can get somebody in there to do it, and you can go on to do the next thing, as we startup founders do. So those are a few things I would say for sure, but sell, and learn to, and just send that invoice.
You know, your point about building a system, especially if you want it to grow, we both know entrepreneurs who are hostage to their businesses.
Yes.
Like they may have thought they were hostage to their job, but they're literally hostage to their business, because if they take their hands off it, it stops.
That's right.
You know, and I tell entrepreneurs, your first job is to fire yourself from every other job but CEO. The only way to do that is either to hire people or to build systems so that you can focus on selling. You can focus on, or there may be a personal passion you have within the business. Maybe you really like to just focus on shoe design, and maybe you want to hire an operations manager to do the operations. But whatever it is, if you don't build a system, you can't get those things out of your hands to do what you're best suited to do, and that hampers the growth of the business. Before we wrap up this conversation, I do want to focus on, it's a personal passion of mine. You talked about it a little bit, but this whole idea, my belief that for most small businesses, the most valuable asset of the business is the founder. Mm. That if you get sick, if you get injured, if you have family drama, that anything that impacts you is going to impact the function of your business. You mentioned earlier, we're human beings.
Yes.
Talk about, especially in this stress-filled environment when people are just dealing with all kinds of pressure, how important it is to, whether it's, everything from eating well, exercise, having a spiritual life, whatever that might mean for you, that you can unload to something you believe in, someone you believe in. Therapy, I'm passionate about mental wellness.
Right.
I'm always, all the entrepreneurs that I coach or mentor, I spend a significant amount of time talking about your well-being. Yes. Is not just a nice thing. It's the key. It could be the key to your business success. Your business could fail because you fail, not because the business doesn't make any sense. Talk about what you've seen and shared, along those lines. Yeah,
one thing I got to be careful not to mention names, Alfred. One of my friends may hear this conversation. So.
I hear you. We carry a lot of confidentiality.
Exactly. But I have a friend of mine I'm thinking of, great guy, I love him and he loves me. But he's so one, I must say that business is in seasons. I want to say that. Some seasons you are stressed these 7 days or 30 days, and that's it. You're drinking a can of soda and a Snicker bar. Alfred's cringing right now at that. But some days that's what you have to do. But overall, if you can, I know people who for the last 6 months, a year, they've been on the go, missing appointments. Can't do this. Ramon, I got to cancel, and you can't do this. That's too busy for a year. Mm-hmm. Something's wrong. Either scale down, stop trying to be the billion-dollar company, do something. So I think that's one. And I must say, Albert, even as one of the disciplines I do, as we're here working from home, so point two that may help is to have morning discipline, whether devotions, whatever you want to call it. But for me, Alfred, I have granola in the morning. I do my push-ups, my stretches. I don't do weights and all that like you can do. My stretches, I have my morning devotions, and then start my day. So I think that's two. How do you start your day? I think three, especially as many of us are stuck in some sort of office or a computer, get up and at the very least walk around. And the last thing I'll say, many things for me, Alfred, I try to leave space to think. I have a notebook right here, whether it's this or a folded up sheet of paper. I'll just take this and a pen sometimes and just sit. Or sometimes even, Alfred, without the pen, just to have that 30 minutes to breathe, to just clear my space. Those are a few things I would say. Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and even before the pandemic, I was working from home most of the week. Mm-hmm. So I've had the luxury since 2014, for the first time in my career, because most of business America is like 9 to 5, 9 to 7. But I was running the magazine 8 to 8. One of the things I want to structure my day around how I work best. Yes. And so I rarely schedule anything before 11 o'clock. That is my thinking time. That is my prayer time. That is can I hear myself think? I'm a man of faith. Can I hear God talking to me? Because before all these other voices get in, and I'm on Zoom and I'm on calls and I'm trying to hit deadlines. And what's happened, and this is very important. Again, this is not just for entrepreneurs. This is for all of us. We don't have the natural boundaries that used to protect us. Like, there's not a train I got to catch, so I got to get out of
Now I can be caught up in work and look up and 7 hours, 8 hours is going by. And you can end up literally working yourself into the ground, even though you technically don't have anybody to tell you what to do. You're just losing, you don't have the natural boundary. So your point is well taken. You got to carve out, like, even in this environment where we, many of us around the country have been quote unquote isolated, quarantine, whatever we want to call it, take vacation. Like literally, if all you do is don't do work and you go to the local park with your family every day and, obviously socially distanced and being safe, you're not at work. You literally take time off because you need it. You don't need it less because you're stuck at home. You actually probably need it more.
That's right. And I'll give you one little tip. What I've done with my wife, done it with my daughter. We go in the car, take an iPad or Kindle, whatever your tech choice is, plug it in and have a movie in the car. Maybe corny for some, but if some haven't done it, you sit there for 2 hours, watch a little movie in your car. It's time away. That's just one thing that I've done.
Driving, you and your family, intimate. Right. Yeah. So listen, man, I'm so glad you came on. You guys, I can't get enough of Ramon Ray, and I'm telling you, you can't either. So you definitely want to be with us November 12th and 13th, Virtual Entrepreneur Summit, the virtual experience. Go to blackenterprise.com. I think you'll find it, blackenterprise.com events. Definitely register. Registration is complimentary, and you won't want to miss it. And Ramon, thank you so much, not only for making yourself available for this interview, but just you're always on call for BE, man. You're that dude, and we really
thank you, Alfred, for having me. Thank you for all that you do and being a friend. So thank you as well. Great to be here.
No doubt. This is Alfred Edmond Jr. with Beyond the Hype. Thanks for joining us.